welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time seeing me, hello. Today we're reading more Reddit stories while I work on my long-term Minecraft world. The first story comes from user No Shoulder. Am I in the wrong for asking my parents for my own money back? I, 24 female, moved out of my parents' house in February. For context, I came out as a lesbian to my parents last year and I told them that I have a girlfriend. My mom told me things like nothing could be worse than this, acted devastated, and didn't talk to me for about 2 weeks. My dad threatened to leave the country and cut me out of his life and never interact again. They both later acted like things were normal again, but I never really got over how rejected and emotionally unsafe I felt. They never asked or referenced my girlfriend. Every now and again, they'd sit me down and tell me I was selfish. They were so disappointed in who I'd become that I'd been difficult for my mom to tolerate as a baby, and now I'm even worse. Even before coming out, there was a pattern of being called selfish, difficult, too clingy, etc. Growing up, I was told that I was the reason they didn't have another child because I was too hard. While I lived there and had started working as a doctor in the UK, I was paying them about £750 a month. The understanding was that it was for rent and food. After I'd come out a few months later, I asked if it could be lower because it felt like a lot, and they reacted really badly. They said they'd bought a big house for me, accused me of not wanting to help them, and that I was very selfish and disappointing. And my dad said that I'd probably ask for all the money back when I leave. I felt really guilty, and I never brought it up again. A few months ago, I moved in with my girlfriend, partly because I genuinely wanted to, but also because their house was emotionally unwell. Today, I visited my parents, and we somehow got on the topic of money and savings and houses. My mom asked how much I could save per month without rent and bills, and I guessed around 2.5k pounds. She told me that they'd actually been saving the £750 a month that I gave them because they'd been planning to surprise me with it one day for a house deposit when I left home. This confused me because that was never communicated to me. I reminded her that when I questioned the amount before, they accused me of being selfish and said I'd asked for all the money back when I left. She said she didn't remember saying that. She then said that if I had wanted to live there rent-free to save money, all I would have had to do was ask. I was really confused by this given all the previous conversations when I'd asked for it to be lowered and they kicked off. I'd asked my mom, okay, then send it over and I'll put it in my savings, and she kind of brushed it off and said no. I'd sent them a text later that evening when I returned home thanking them for saving it for me and asked again if I could have it for savings. My mom then said, what I meant was if you were carrying on staying with us while you were ready to buy a house, that would be your deposit. I asked her to explain further as that didn't make sense, and both herself and my dad ignored my message. Am I the asshole for asking for the money after my mom said she was saving it for me? No, that's really confusing. I don't think they're saving your money. I think they just want you to stay there and keep giving them money so that they can have their savings. They're very confusing. In the comments, user Fern and Fable says, not the asshole. They weaponized the money to control you, then changed the story when you called their bluff. You paid rent. It was never a gift. Asking for it back after they admitted saving it is just holding them to their word. Their silence says everything. User Mountain Mists says, there's no money, and there never was any money. The money you gave them is long gone, and you'll never see a penny of it. Stay far away from your parents and get yourself therapy. User Renskeet says, you're not the asshole, but you are being very naive. You aren't going to see that money. Let it go. You probably wouldn't have seen it even if you were a good little straight daughter that stayed living at home. It's about control. Just move on with your life. User Disgruntled Polecat says, cut and run, kid. The relationship will never get any easier. Our next story comes from user Complete Id. Am I the asshole for not going on my girlfriend's birthday trip? I've been dating my girlfriend for a little under 2 years, and her birthday is in a couple of weeks. She's turning the big 3-0, and she's very excited about it. We both work at an airport, so we get free flight benefits. My girlfriend decided she wanted to go to Hawaii for her birthday because she's never been. She made a group chat and invited all of her aviation friends and their spouses and partners who also get free flights. She invited around 8 people, including myself, and every person said yes to the invite. She got a huge Airbnb with enough space for everyone. Problem is, the day she booked it is during my niece's birthday bash. My girlfriend's birthday coincides with my niece's, and last year I wasn't able to celebrate my girlfriend's birthday because I went to my niece's. We're in a long distance relationship, for context, so I have to drive/fly to go see my girlfriend. I was in my hometown, and since my niece was turning 4 and going into her first year of school, I wanted to celebrate that with my family. My niece's birthday is June 9th. My girlfriend's is on June 10th. She booked the trip June 8th to the 12th. My parents are throwing my niece a huge party on the 9th. The thing is, I can't do both. I would if I could, but if I left June 10th, I would spend all day flying to Hawaii and only be there for one day. I'd be so jet lagged, so it doesn't really make sense for me to do that. I also want to help my parents with my niece's party, and I'm in charge of getting the cake and some decor, etc. My girlfriend seemed upset when I told her this and said, "Look, it sucks because you missed my birthday last year, but I understood. This year isn't just a birthday trip, it's a couple's trip too, and I thought it would be nice for us to all travel together. I know your niece's birthday crosses with mine, but these were the only dates all my friends could get off from work. Is there any way you and I can celebrate your niece's birthday on a different day with her? We can take her out somewhere fun." I told her that while it was a sweet gesture, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I'm super close with my niece. I've babysat her almost every weekend, and I spend so much time with her. It'll break her heart if she knows that I missed her party. She's been asking if I'm coming to it almost every time I see her. My girlfriend then went into a spiel that I prioritize my family over her and that I've done this on several occasions. She said she's starting to worry about a future with me. That really offended me because she knows how much I love my family, and I don't think there's anything wrong with making family a priority, especially since my girlfriend and I aren't even married. I told my girlfriend I'll make it up to her when she comes back. I'll take her to her favorite restaurant, and I had already purchased her the purse she's been wanting. Am I the asshole for not going to my girlfriend's birthday trip? Yes, you are. You are, because you can acknowledge when it is a special birthday for a 4-year-old who's going into her first year of schooling. And let's be honest, how many notable memories is a 4 to 5-year-old actually making and is going to keep? I can remember maybe one thing from when I was 5. Um, However, a 30-year-old who you're dating will absolutely remember every time that you have slighted her by choosing other people over her and pushing her wants, needs, and fun experiences and plans to the side. Because now what you're doing to her is that she's going to be the only one on this couple's trip without her partner with her, which I could only imagine is going to suck for her. Um, in the comments, user Snoosprouts says, "You're the asshole. I get it. As an aunt myself, I want to be there for all the nieces and nephews stuff. But this isn't some small birthday for your girlfriend. It's a huge milestone. You went to your niece's birthday party last year. This is going to be one of those things that you need to alternate. Do you see a future with her? Can you imagine going on your birthday trip and everyone else has their loved ones with, but you?" User Beautiful Range says, "You're the asshole. 30 is a big birthday and you already missed your girlfriend's birthday last year for your niece. It's your girlfriend's turn." User Suspicious Culture says, "You're the asshole. Break up with her so she can find someone better." User Dr. Lucky says, "Like a 4-year-old is going to remember a birthday party. Good God." User Fauna Angel says, "You're the asshole. She's right. It doesn't sound like you prioritize your girlfriend. If you hope to make her a wife one day, you can't just push her aside to celebrate your niece and not her. If this relationship isn't what you want to put first, that's ultimately fine, but you can't string her along and give her second place every time. The most important relationship is your wife once you're married. Family can still be important, but that's not who you made the commitment to. 30 is a big milestone to a lot of people, and she also pointed out that it's a couple's trip. Making it up to her is not really a good solution because your feelings towards her would be very clear that she isn't important to you, but is more of an afterthought." User Salty Friend says, "You're the asshole. Why would you put your girlfriend in competition with a 4-year-old? It might be good for you to get out and spend some time with your girlfriend and some adults. Go to the Hawaii trip, the whole thing. If you don't enjoy it, break up with your girlfriend and consign yourself to family support. No one will want to date you under those conditions." Our next story comes from user Sierra's Maze. Am I the asshole for sniffing my friend's baby and calling it a little animal? I, 33 female, have a friend, 34 male, whom I've been friends with since college. Both he and I are expats. He's Australian, I'm Brazilian. We had a minor thing about a decade ago that never went anywhere, but since then we've been strictly platonic. We've stayed good friends, also because we work in the same industry and we share a ton of connections. Last year, he randomly met a Brazilian woman who I guess does not like me. I get it to an extent because very few of his girlfriends since our thing have been okay with us being friends, but this one seemed more aggressive. For example, when we were all hanging out once, she was joking that one of the tattoos on his arm is of me. It's not, but she kept repeating it to the point of discomfort. People noticed and tried to change the subject. A few weeks, maybe days after they met, she got pregnant. It seemed like a massive red flag from the get go, but I never really said anything to my buddy about it. I kept it to myself and I rooted for them. I tried to be nice and helpful throughout, like arranged for a family member to bring her favorite snacks from Brazil when she was having cravings, helped organize the baby shower. Some days she'd be nice to me, and other days it felt like she hated my guts. I attributed it to the pregnancy hormones, her not knowing me well yet, and jealousy. I thought it would pass. Fast forward to last weekend. The baby is about 9 months old. I was at their place with a couple of friends. One guy pretended to dip the baby's pacifier in his beer, joked about how we all did it in the 90s, and everyone laughed. When it was my turn to play with the baby, she seemed hypervigilant. I should have taken the hint that this wasn't going to end well, but I thought I was in the clear since she seemed relaxed with the others. Then I did something that's very common in Brazilian culture. I gave the baby a sniff on the head and called him and said what translates to, "Oh, what a cute little animal slash bug." But anyone who's Brazilian knows that this is not meant as an insult at all. I went home thinking everything was okay. That was until the next day, Sunday. I get all of these texts from my friends saying that we can no longer hang out and I can no longer see the baby. His girlfriend is really mad that I called the baby a little animal and smelled him without asking for consent. My friend said that he personally doesn't mind, but she's threatening to leave and start a custody battle if he doesn't comply. I understand that sniffing a baby and calling them that might seem weird to outsiders, but I swear to God, it's completely normal in my culture, and she 100% knows this. Ask any Brazilian you know. However, the more I think about it, the more I feel like one of those boomers who says, "This creepy, racist, inappropriate thing was totally normal where I came from. Is this really enough to end a friendship over? Did I mess up? Am I the creepy auntie?" No, I don't think so. I think she was looking for an excuse to get you away from her boyfriend and the baby. It's just that simple. I think it was just the perfect opportunity to be like, "Oh, she's evil. Get her away from here. Get her away from my kid." In the comments, we have user Crystal Luna who says, "The tattoo joke, the hot and cold treatment, and now this. She's been marking her territory since week one. The baby just gave her new ammunition." User Aussie Koala says, "Not the asshole. I'm Australian and literally sniffed the head of a 7-month-old baby at the weekend, then spontaneously called her a cute little possum. The baby seemed to enjoy the experience." User Mother of Brains says, "I'm Brazilian, and when I read when I read the title, I was ready to call you the asshole. But it's actually a cute, socially acceptable way to refer to a baby or child in Brazil, like calling a baby a little bug in English. Your friend is being unreasonable or maybe looking for an excuse to cut you out of their lives. Not the asshole. I'm sorry they're treating you like that." User Passing Time Online says, "One way or another, she was going to find a way to cut you out, and this happened to be it. Not the asshole. I'd keep distance until their relationship inevitably ends." User For Beastlings says, "Not the asshole. I don't speak Portuguese, but Spanish, but 99% sure that the meaning and context is the same, which is an absolutely affectionate way of calling someone." Our next story comes from user Fennec Fox. "Am I the asshole for talking about how I'm the type of person who hates taking meds?" I was chatting with some friends on a Discord call less than a week after a major surgery and mentioned that I was happy today because I'd managed to take less pain meds than the day before and still felt okay. We joke a lot. We're online gaming friends, so our sense of humor can be pretty dark, and we've all shared things about our personal lives and history. So I made a joke about how I'm the type of person that gets upset when I have to take meds or rely on them, so I take less than I probably should, and that's why I quit those darn depression and anxiety meds too. We make a lot of depression and anxiety jokes. It's never been an issue before. I've even mentioned in a serious way that that's why I'm not medicated, though it might be helpful to get back on them. I didn't catch anything as being wrong. One of them responded and said, "Oh yeah, I don't know anyone else like that," which I took to be referring to himself or the other person in the chat, seeing as they're significant others. But she got quiet and then continued talking about the game that was being played. About an hour after I left the Discord call, she put in the chat that she needed to take some time offline because the meds commentary was super ableist and shitty, and left the chat entirely. Am I the asshole? We've always joked. We have known each other for years, and I can't figure out how it's ableist or shitty unless she thought it was a jab. If it was, I want to understand and apologize. I do think you're the asshole here, but I think your biggest sin here is assuming what is and isn't cool to joke about. In general, it could be that maybe this person hasn't talked to you about any medical issues or issues with pills that they might have. You never know what's going on in someone else's life, and you never know what will end up being the straw that breaks the camel's back. I would say, give her time. In the comments, user Sparkle Marmalade says, "You're the asshole, I'm afraid. An awful lot of people rely on those darn depression and anxiety meds just to function, so it can come off as completely tone deaf when you joke about it. I get that you usually joke with your friends in a dark sort of way, but maybe reflect on this for a short while, along with keeping up with comments here, to give you a bit of perspective, and I do mean that gently." And the OP responds and says, "I think I've started to numb myself on that aspect because I gave into a reality that my choice not to take meds means fighting the bad/dark thoughts daily, and that's just the result of my decision. I will always take perspective, but I wish you would have had a conversation with me about it. I would think that we're at that point in friendship." User stay out of the mines replies to that and says, "A lot of people have to get up and deal with incredibly dark thoughts every day, even after taking the meds. It's possible your friend has it a lot worse than you, and her options are meds or just dead. A lot of people at that stage really hate talking about it too." User Hothead Chicken says, "People who talk about how they don't take meds because they don't like taking them are basically bragging about having the privilege of not having any health problems where you have to medicate to manage. I don't like taking meds either. I'm not taking them for funsies. My other choice is feeling like shit all the time. Soft, you're the asshole." And OP responds to that and says, "I guess that is maybe where I was missing the context. I thought it was understood in the serious past conversations that I made a mistake in not taking meds and I'm 100% worse off for it. But maybe in that moment it was brushed off." User Farstatician says, "People bragging about their high pain tolerance always strikes me as admitting that they have never been in real debilitating pain." And OP responds to that and says, "I think pain is subjective, but there was also no bragging about pain tolerance. I was excited to have progressed in my healing, that I could lower my dosage and not be bedridden from the pain." User Hot Pineapple replies to that and says, "Yeah, but that's not what you said. You said you get upset if you have to rely on meds, and that's why you quit your depression and anxiety meds. You saying that gives the impression that you view depression and anxiety as just a matter of willpower to get over, and that people who don't are less than. You didn't focus on how you're feeling better or how you progressed. That's what makes you the asshole. Just wanted to edit to state that you could have had that entire conversation without mentioning meds at all, just stating how you're feeling better, etc." Our next story comes from user Front Experience. "Am I the asshole for signing my sister up for a modeling agency? I, 18 female, have been in the acting industry since I was 8. My sister, 17 female, was ever since she was 7, though she wanted to be a model. My parents didn't let her apply. They said she can when she's older, and if she still wants to. They were just worried because of what they've heard about the modeling industry being toxic. She's always still had this dream. When I got my first iPad at 10, when she was 9, I used to do photo shoots of her. It was something she wanted to do until she was 13. We got into a car accident. We all survived. My dad broke a few bones. Luckily, my mother and I was fine, but my sister wasn't wearing a seatbelt and flew through the window. She was in the ICU and had to have emergency surgeries. She now has scars, which she's self-conscious about. She decided that she wants to become a fashion designer or a photographer instead. I love that dream for her, but she still wishes she could have become a model. But she thinks that she's ugly now, but honestly, the scars are beautiful. Like now, she's now alternative with short hair and dresses really cool. And she posts photos on her Instagram that she takes of herself, of her posing in outfits that she made herself. She looks like an alternative model. And the scars add to the vibe of her darker aesthetic. Even back when she was a girly girl, I always still thought she was beautiful. A few months ago, my acting agent, who also does modeling representation, told me that someone contacted him asking me to do a modeling gig as they've seen the work I've done and thought I have the right look for what they're going for. I'm not the typical model look, but I accepted the job. It was fun. Most of them came from a modeling specific agency, and one of them that was a more alternative style of short hair of my sister. I asked that girl if her agent's taking new clients. She said yes, she can give the email that you have to send photos to, and if they think you have potential, they'll offer to take you on. I plan to ask my sister if she wants to apply, but I know that if she got rejected, she'd feel worse. So I applied for her without saying and sent pictures from her Instagram. They responded saying that they would love to add her to their books. I told my sister and my parents. My sister got mad at me. I said that she doesn't have to accept the offer, but I thought I'd see if there was an opportunity for her in the first place before asking, and I think this is a great way to build her confidence and connections, even if modeling isn't what she goes on to do forever. She'll know people in the fashion and photography industry. She went to her room. My parents are upset at saying that I know how self conscious she is about her body, and why would I feel the need to bring attention to her like that? My sister isn't talking to me. I told her if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to, but to sit on it because the opportunity is there. My parents told me that I should stop pressuring her. I said I can tell them that she's not interested, and now they're saying that I'm rushing her and I shouldn't have put her in this situation in the first place. I think you might have a good heart and good intentions, but ultimately you are an asshole. Disfiguration in any sort of way would have, of course, demolish someone's self-confidence. And at the very least, you should have asked her about this before doing this. Because at this point, this is taking photos that she took for social media, but that you have no idea if she'd ever feel okay with submitting those to a serious professional place. You might have had a good heart about it and you might have been trying to do the right thing, but it's ultimately her decision. Stop pushing her. Stop insisting that she make a decision now. Let her think about it. Let her make her own choice about this, and don't do anything like this ever again, because what the hell? In the comments, user Active Anteater says, "You are not the good guy here. Your behavior was terrible. How or if your sister chooses to present her body, including her scars, is entirely her decision. You're trying to force what you view as some type of healing on her. It's not your body, not your psyche, not your business. Sending photos of her to an agency without her permission was beyond the pale. In addition, you seem to be casting some sort of aspersions on your parents for not allowing your sister to model as a child, which is entirely within the rights, by the way. The modeling field is rife with eating disorders and other toxicities. It's entirely responsible for a parent to want to project his or her child from that. But as of now, it's not even your parents who are objecting. It's your sister. You're the asshole." User Claire says, "You're the asshole. You don't sign someone else up from this, and you especially don't do it with a minor. I believe your intentions were good, but this was inconsiderate." Oh, this user has a username that would probably get this video blacklisted, but it's about a certain rich man and whether or not he did things himself. They say, quote, "The modeling industry is too dangerous for our 17-year-old, but the acting industry wasn't dangerous for our 8-year-old. This is either made up or your parents are genuinely morons." Opie responds to that and says, "They're okay now that she's 17. I think they only saw the model industry as like Victoria's Secret supermodel horror stories and not just your classic clothing brand or advert, which is more realistic and diverse. They didn't want to put her into modeling at that age because of the Victoria's Secret marketing people or making people starve themselves and such. Whereas acting, you don't hear those stories as much. I would argue differently based on what I've heard. User Spare Shirt says, "You're the asshole. You're not her parent or legal guardian. You don't get to make decisions for her. You also did it without her consent. You should have never put her in that position." User Amenias says, "You're the asshole. The thought was sweet, but utterly misguided, and pushing it on absolutely is not on. Apologize and then pretend this never happened. If for whatever reason she changes her mind on her own, she knows the door exists. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a haunting thing. Being a model isn't just getting an agent. It's having clients discuss and reject and try to mold your body constantly, and you're expected to be professional and let people be rude to your face about your face. I can't imagine how draining that is for someone who already dislikes their body, never mind someone who's already struggling." And our last story of today comes from user Pale Message. "Am I the asshole for not switching rooms with my roommate so she could have alone time? I, 19 female, lived with Jane, 19 female, Ailey, 19 female, and Kate, 19 female, last year through August 2025 to April 2026. It was through my university, but apartment style. We had to pick housing in February of 2025, and during our assigned time slot, I was the only available person to go into the portal. We had planned on getting a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, but they were all taken. Instead, we wound up with a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment where one bedroom is much larger and meant for 2 people. I texted them all, asking if anyone cared to have a single or a double room, as the double room was cheaper. Everyone responded saying that they didn't have any preference, so I asked my Alexa to randomly pick numbers and I assigned rooms that way. It turned out that Jane and I got the single rooms while Bailey and Kate would share the double. It is important to note that at the time we picked rooms, I had a girlfriend and Kate had a boyfriend. Jane and Bailey were single. In April 2025, Kate and I were at a party. I was drunk, but Kate showed up late and was still sober. She came straight up to me and asked if we could talk about switching rooms. I immediately didn't like the idea, but instead I asked if we could talk about it later because I was drunk and not thinking clearly. Kate continued to pitch the idea to me of us switching rooms. I told her that I would think about it. She was upset because her boyfriend shared a bedroom with his roommate, and they couldn't have alone time together at either apartment. My girlfriend had yet to find an apartment. This is relevant. I told her it was more expensive for me to have the single room, and I wasn't willing to pay all that money but not get the single room. Kate said that she would pay me the difference, but I don't know how because she was unemployed at the time. I told her to ask Jane, but she said she didn't want to. I don't know why. I told her I didn't want to talk about it then, as I was drunk, and she got upset and didn't talk to me for the rest of the party. Then, in May 2025, Bailey got a boyfriend. After Bailey told us, Kate texted me and asked if my girlfriend had found an apartment yet. I said no. I knew she was implying again that she wanted to switch rooms, but she didn't say that, so I didn't mention it. A week later, my girlfriend found an apartment where she would live with roommates but have a single room. Kate found out and texted me confirming that my girlfriend had an apartment. I said yes. She didn't text me again until the end of July, finally asking again if she could have my room. I said no because I didn't want to and didn't feel like I was obligated to, and because Jane and I had already purchased things for our shared bathroom. Switching bathrooms would change who shares the bathrooms. Kate argued with me over text. I don't have the space to get into it, and I was civil, but she kept saying it was rude and inconsiderate of me to not switch rooms with her because my girlfriend had a single room at her apartment. I don't feel like it was my responsibility, as Kate had the option to get the single room when I asked in February. Am I the asshole for not giving her my room? No, you're not the asshole. You would maybe be a bit of an asshole if it were Bailey who's asking, like Bailey who got a boyfriend later on, but Kate had a boyfriend while you guys were picking rooms. She knew that if she wound up with the double room, which if you're just drawing the straws randomly, has every opportunity of happening, she should have anticipated that at some point she and her boyfriend would have wanted some alone time. That's not your fault, and that's not on you. You did it. You picked it out as randomly as you could. In the comments, User Runs with Scissors says, not the asshole. You definitely weren't obligated. University students have always been finding ways to have private time for a while now. I'm sure Kate can manage. User Moonbeam Glitter says, not the asshole. You asked everyone at the beginning. Everyone said they didn't care. Good on you to sticking to your principles. Kate never would have paid you a dime, and she would have gotten a cheaper single room while you paid more for sharing. If she doesn't like it, she can move. This isn't hard. User From BB says, not the asshole. Kate doesn't seem to accept the word no, and at this point you should shut down any conversation. Neither engage with her. She chose not a single room, and that's life. She has to accept it despite her continuous efforts not to. No is an answer, and that's it. User No Algae says, not the asshole. Sounds like your roommates are entitled and don't care about others. You were drunk, for one. That's manipulation right there to someone in that state. You have no reason to give up your room. Might I suggest that you and your girlfriend look for a 1 or 2 bed together? If possible, of course. Then you can get out of there and have some peace. And OP responds and says, my girlfriend and I are moving in together in a few months. I'm so excited for it to just be her and I. Well, I do hope that goes well for her. I do really hope that goes well for her. But that is all the stories I have for today. So I hope that these were entertaining enough for whatever you might need white noise for. Bye.